climate change had the effect of carbon dioxide on global warming is up to 400% off of what its real effect is in the atmosphere. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. The models are always saying you double CO2, you're going to get this huge temperature increase. But with nature, with a 30% increase in CO2, 30% increase in carbon dioxide equivalency units, that's a 60% increase, and we've only had 6.6 degree Fahrenheit warming from man. That only is 1 degree Fahrenheit. That shows that all those models are greatly exaggerated. And, yeah. But the environmentalists and the politicians believe those things verbatim. I mean, if they believed them, they would believe exactly every 6 to 10 day weather forecast I ever put out. I don't even believe them myself. Phil.
Michael, what happens if you are getting, your seawater is going to absorb or give off carbon dioxide? Mm-hmm. What's the effect of warming or cooling of the seawater?
Oh, a lot. If you warm the seawater, you'll give off a lot of CO2. If you cool it, you'll absorb more CO2. So if you warm the water, you'll add a lot of CO2 from the surface layer. The carbon cycle is quite complicated. In fact, it's so complicated they can't. There's, I think, 25% missing carbon that should be in the atmosphere, but it's taken up by these reservoirs, they call them, whether the deep ocean or plants or whatever. They can't find where 25% of the CO2 goes that we add to the atmosphere because it's so complicated. But yeah, the ocean, if you warm up the ocean, it'll bubble up a lot of that CO2, and so you'll have more in the atmosphere. Back in the back.
Where are they taking these measurements for temperature right now? Do they have spots around the globe that they're compiling?
Yes.
Is it from satellite?
No, they do have that too. Working for the National Weather Service for 30 years, I know all those temperature records are flawed, but the experts have been working to get a lot of the flaws out, so I think most of them are out. They're all over the earth. They're even in the oceans from ships. There are areas that are data poor, so there's hundreds of measurements. And like I said, they've gotten most of the biases out. Most of the biases are towards warming, by the way, like the urban heat island effect. But they've gotten most of that out of those records. Now, we do take satellite measurements. And for a while, it was showing that the atmosphere was cooling, while the surface measurements were showing warming. But there's been shown to be some errors in the satellite. But the satellite, when they correct for that, actually shows a lot less warming than even on the ground. And the warming the satellite shows is the atmospheric warming for the whole lower and middle atmosphere, while these temperatures are just on the ground. So they have measurements all over. And I would say they're probably fairly reasonable. You might say that they might be a little too warm. If anything, you can say maybe they're a few degrees Fahrenheit too warm, but that's about it.
Are they picking places out that are out in the countryside? Or?
Yes. Like Phoenix. We know that Phoenix has warmed 6 degrees Fahrenheit since about 1900 because of all the cement and concrete and the sunlight is absorbed. But they don't use things like that. They know about those effects, and so they use things temperature reading out in the country. So yes.
What have they done to try and calibrate these models?
They usually try to calibrate it with present climate, see how it.
Can they reproduce historic data?
I think they do pretty well when they reproduce current data, historical data. Like you mean the Little Ice Age, or?
Well, I just know with any model, you try and run it against a data set.
They usually use either a present data set or maybe one that they have archived, say for like 1985, and they'll run it for that and see how well all the atmospheric variables line up with the observations. That's how they try to calibrate it. But when you double CO2, you're adding an effect in the models that it's not geared for normally. Because models, when you make them, the variables only have certain ranges that you're supposed to use them for. But when you double CO2 and you put it way out here, it goes against its range. And so this is going to complicate other effects, you see. So that's the problem. So when they calibrate their models towards present data, it's generally pretty good. When they double CO2, that's when the problems occur. By the way, if you want to, there's a good DVD that was done on global warming by D. James Kennedy's ministry, and Answers in Genesis added more just recently. If you get any creationist material, you've seen it advertised. You get it from the creationresearch.org, their website. Anyway, it's about global warming, put out by creationists. I was hoping we'd have copies here to show you, but they didn't order any. Oh, there's a little booklet that goes along with it that Ed has. It comes with a booklet. But you can order that online.